Well, hello there, everybody. It is Thursday, and I trust you're having the best Thursday there is. You know, he is a god, so hey, give him a high five, say hello, and, never piss off the gods or the goddesses. It's not a good
No,
idea.
no.
I see people doing that all the time, and it's like I'm going, are you just stupid? But what did Forrest Gump say? Stupid is as stupid does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anybody, everybody, how y'all doing? Everyone in the chat room, we just want to say hello. We speak favor over us all because favor is really the flavor that's in mode right now. So nothing missing, nothing broken. And as we like to say, be kind to your mind. So it's Thursday. We have Mike and Cindy back from Evolutionary Energy Arts. It is a pleasure to have y'all back. We have been absent, oh, I don't know, 3 weeks, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
Yeah,
been,
in 3 weeks, the world has changed.
has it
Yeah.
ever? Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's like a total paradigm shift, but I think the bigger shifts are still coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't think this has been the main shockwave. I mean, and no doubt the consciousness of humanity has been shocked, but I don't know if it's just a precursor of something else. But my intuition, my spirit says, Steiger, get that 5 point seatbelt, pull tight, because we haven't seen what was it, Bachman Turner Overdrives. We haven't seen anything yet.
No, it's gonna get, I think, a lot different. We're looking at the eclipse right now, and this is a really big eclipse. And the energy of an eclipse, as the eclipses move on in time, the energy continues to build and it builds and it builds. And pretty soon you start seeing the separation of energies. And we're just at a really, next year, it's going to be a little bit crazier. So we do this until we hit a crescendo and then it all falls down.
And we have to remember, we just passed the anniversary of the second continental in the United States eclipse, and that back in 2017, we went up to Wyoming and saw the first one. And I caught some amazing pictures with my telescope. But this last one that went through, it kind of marks like X marks the spot. And I don't think this is just my personal opinion, but I saw it as an omen, as a bad omen. I didn't see it as prosperity, let's go party and have the band come out. I didn't get that vibe at all.
Right.
Now, we've made probably a half dozen videos on X marks the spot.
I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, and literally, that was one of my focal points for so long because I could just feel it. This is a total paradigm shift that we're entering. Everything was changing, and really has.
Oh,
But
yeah.
now we're in because the second X, according to what we've received message-wise from our guides and the Galactic Federation, was the second X, April 8th, 2024, was the last day of the Kali Yuga. So it was marking really kind of, you could look at it as that was sort of a tribulation period to the end of the age, but we still have a lot of tribulation to go because we still have basically in place the same control structure, but it's really cracking and falling apart at the seams as we speak.
We were talking before we went live, and I titled this, we got visitors coming, and it's like the holiday season is about to get here in, next couple of months. And, people start thinking of family, friends, and, it's the ritual that we do as humans. We love coming together and, breaking bread. It's just a part of who we are. And I thought that, how odd. I mean, the question is, are they already here or have they been here? And are they coming back? We've seen this in past cultures, all of them. We're going to see some pictures here I put together that apparently these visitors have been here before. And if you go with the Sumerian folklore that the Anunnaki, that, they seem to be on their way back as well. And then the question is this the return of Enki and Enlil and Herzog? Is Inanna on her way back? And do they ride the comets coming in? I mean, we don't know how these, if they exist, in which there's evidence that or at least our ancestors believe that. I don't know how a god travels or goddess. We've got our ideas of Star Wars and Star Trek, but somehow I don't think even that's right.
I had a really strange, and it was very limited information that I got the other night, just laying in bed, came from my upper right. And it was the G-Fed. They said, we are on our way. We're on our way. That's the only information I got. It's like cut transmission. Not sure what that means, but it got me thinking, well, what does that mean time-wise for us? It's got to be different. It could be 20 years, but they're still on their way. So interstellar is how I think God travels.
Yeah, again, it depends on the individual. I think if you go and you look at the Hindu holy books, like this morning we were talking about this in one of the videos that we did, it describes that different beings use different vimanas. Vimanas are the flying ships. They're different construction, they're different technology. And when you get to the more benevolent beings, they use plasma light ships. They don't use mechanical ships. The lower beings use mechanical ships, not too far off from what we would use. So it all depends on the beings. And I think that, boy, man, people would be so well served to delve into some of these texts, because they give you so much more than what we find in little bits in the Abrahamic tradition. It's just, you have to look at Ezekiel's wheel and wonder. But
Interesting you say that.
Yeah, but if you look into the Vedic texts, they literally talk of people coming in a ship, the ship lands, they come out and say, hey, we're actually from this planet. We're here to help you guys, give you some coaching. You have that type of interaction. You also have interaction where the negative ETs come in, those that we would think of when we think of the Anunnaki that came in and set up this civilization. They come in, they demand to be worshipped, they conquer everything, they enslave people, they set up banking and temples, and then they eventually end up leaving with their, with their lower echelon, middle to lower management humans, which often are their hybrid offspring, taking control. The family members that we know of when we talk about the Illuminati families, things like that. They were left here to be kind of like a middle, lower management, really, not even middle management. But when you look at it, we've been visited by all sorts of beings. It depends on the age that we're in and where our frequency is, the beings that we get.
It's interesting. I'm a, Bible student and studied prophecy, but it's interesting you brought up Ezekiel. I was out doing my meditation and thought came to me of Ezekiel's wheel. And that's how Yahweh, Jehovah, travels. He travels within a ship. And the interesting thing about that ship, if you read that, and even the account that Isaiah gives in the opening of the book of Isaiah, but this is clearly a ship. It's clearly mechanical. Apparently, it's not good for other humans to be around. That was very obvious with Yahweh and Ezekiel. No other human could be there. It was just the prophet. So different set of eyes, because part of the reason I left Christianity was that it was a Johnny-come-lately religion that was basically Hellenizing other religions to found its foundation. So the best records we have now are for Western culture is the Sumerian tablets, the cylinders, etc. And they were here for a very long time, way before Yahweh got to the scene. So that story says that they have been here. I think that, in my opinion, Genesis 1 and 2 is a story of terraforming a planet. I think that's all it is. It's not a god. It's a race of beings. That's what they do. But Mike, to bring to your point, center point, this is a race that does require submission, subservience, and if you rebel, you're punished. You go to hell.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah, we could see that. What do they use as their tools? It's really fear-based. It's all fear-based, like you said. It's all punishment. You have to behave or else you're going to be. And when you look at what you're hit with all the time through the Bible, like look at Judges, right? It's pestilence, famine, plague, war. It's the usual playbook that we see going on today.
Hmm.
I forget who it was, but it was a brand new channel to me anyway that popped up in my feed. And it was really interesting because, the guy says right off the bat, and I think he's written books. I'll have to see who the author's name is. But anyway, he's just talking about how Cabbage Patch Kids, Cabbage Patch Kids is human cloning. And that's replacements, more manageable replacements, genetically engineered, while they use war to wipe us, to get us to wipe ourselves out. When you look at the spread of Western civilization, that's the spread of these conquering aliens. When you really look at it that way, ultra-terrestrials, that's their system being spread, and we're indoctrinated into it. So we do all the heavy lifting without realizing we're just being used as tools to further their cause by spreading the Western mindset throughout the world. And here you have the Native Americans. They get herded into places, like what the reservations. If you've been through Arizona reservations, they're horrible. I mean,
Terrible.
it's
Terrible.
horrible. This is where those people that knew and had. It doesn't even have to be them. You can look to the Cherokee, the Creek, and others. They knew of these beings that came from the sky. They knew of the reptilian energy too that controlled even those that looked very, very human. They understood all this. This is a big part of why they were persecuted. It's because they knew too much, and they still remembered when through their legends when they came, and so they can't have that. They have to have a population here that can still work the land for them. Do you realize how much mining is still being done all around the world? So when we look to the Sumerian legends and looking after gold, but it's more than just gold, it's all the resources. Even going on to this day in North Carolina, Asheville, the lithium deposits that were there, and then the floods come. Nothing's changed, from that perspective in thousands of years. But now we're at the point where we recognize there's something really big going on. And our politicians aren't smart enough to really come up with all this on their own. They're just, good actors.
So gets into, let me just pull this up so we can just have a conversation because what we're talking about in essence is that we're talking about the human race is really not a race that is independent. We may think we have free will, we may think that we can do, but by this discussion of all the events that you have been talking and as we've included in this, then that says, then what's going on? I mean, and so as I just go through here, folks, just to let you know, these are just some of the latest pictures that we know of something. I think that one was very interesting. Looks like a craft to me. So they're here. I guess the question I'm looking at, it seems like these are the bad guys because I don't see anything happening of a benevolent ET. I mean, look at this is Mike. This is Inca. Um,
Yeah, this is great.
it sums it up exactly what you were saying.
It says it all. It really does say it all. I mean, you could look at it as a UFO, a classic UFO with some sort of gray in there. But, also the menacing posture, sending off, well, they all basically are black magicians when you get down to it. Um, it's fascinating when you look at it, because we
It's
might have this mindset that we need to separate science from what the religion tells us. And when we talk about like witchcraft, which can actually be good in the sense of, sorcery is, and Cindy could describe it better than me, but again, it's source. So source is in all of us. They can't have us asserting our power. They can't have us realizing that we could affect change to this reality just by our intentions and our attention and intention combined. So they really can't have that. They have to basically control those, and they did it through the witchcraft trials, the Inquisition. Again, getting rid of natural healers, getting rid of natural intuitives, people that
so are
had.
you saying that these beings are behind that?
Yes, when you look to, like, we see a lot of grays, tall grays, short grays. There are also, like, if you look up the Betty Andreasen affair, she was from Connecticut, not far from where I grew up, and she was abducted, and she drew a whole bunch of pictures of what she saw. She saw humans inside the really classic UFO saucer type ships, humans in stasis tubes, humans being cultivated, some abducted, maybe never to be seen again. Again, millions of people go missing every single year. And I do think that there's this constant replacement cycle ongoing. Uh, Probably the most common worker bees are the grays. So yeah, when you see the grays, typically, they're the gophers, they're the servants, they're slave labor, really, when you get down to it. Some of them are fully um, non-biological, others are partially biological, some are truly just completely robotic. When you look to the cow mutilations, when you see glands gone and certain genetic material gone, they're actually using those to make more grays, which they then use as slaves to carry out whatever work they need to be done.
I
Uh,
find it interesting that when we look at the depiction of these beings, is they're always with the serpent. It just in my studies, I find that more than just coincidental. And again, it's marked around the country. The Greys apparently have been here for longer than we have. Um, they seem to be well organized on the moon. It appears that these crafts are, if they're of the same species, or if we're looking at multiple species, multiple different types of beings with different capabilities of travel. What do you think on that?
yeah, there's many different types of beings. I do think in our environment, by far the most common is the grays. You will find also that there are different, very humanoid looking beings. There's the tall whites, which are a little different than the Nordic looking ones. We call those the fallen Pleiadians, because there are some that literally are kind of, they're captives of war. They've given in, they've bowed the knee to, the draconian system and empire, and they've joined them. This is what we have again with humans here, serving the reptilian masters, uh, even though they are human or humanoid in a lot of cases. Not every case, though.
By the
Um,
way, these are all pictures of the moon, folks. And in demonology, there's a belief that that's where the demons actually live, is on
yeah,
the moon.
right. And when you look to the legends of the moon being brought and put into place, there are some tribes that remember this. There's tribes from Africa, there's tribes from the Americas, and there's also um, a group that lived in the Tuscany region of Italy, the Etruscans. They also have legends of a time before the moon was put in place, because the moon is really, it is a base. It's absolutely a base, natural object that's been hollowed out to a degree and is used as a base of operations. Interestingly enough, Rahu and Ketu are the two nodes of the moon in Vedic astrology, and they are a demonic force. And Cindy could speak more about that.
Yeah, they're the head and the tail of the demon. Ketu has no head, and Rahu, he's needing to consume. And the moon, you look at the moon, and that's the mind. And you spoke of demonology, and demons come from the moon. Well, that's in your mind. So we look at the sun as the soul in Vedic astrology, but the moon is your emotions, and your emotions are collected in the mind.
So
Well, Jesus said that when a demon is cast out in the book of Mark, he said that they go to the dry, waterless place where they came from.
Yeah, that's great. And that's one that I don't.
And how does a pyramid show up on the moon? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on Mars too, and they're actually in more places than we might expect. But like power structure wise, what you have are a wide variety of species of beings that have mostly been overshadowed or controlled from lower fourth density. So the people that, the beings that are embodied like we are, that are part of the control system, are really, you could say they're demonically possessed because they're overshadowed by beings that are not totally physical to us.
And this is one of those beings.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, quite frankly, I would probably piss my pants if I saw this show up in my doorstep. It's like, but then again, even the artist of the Enlightenment era was trying to tell us that these gods are not physical. They're not in the aspect of what we have been trained by organized religion. No, 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 no. These are celestial visitors.
Yeah, interdimensional in many cases. And it does seem that us, Homo sapiens sapiens are maybe in the minority when it comes to beings that can actually control your frequency. And if you don't like a certain frequency,
Well, isn't this what this picture is depicting? Is controlling the frequency?
I
I
think
mean, that's
so.
what the antennas are, right?
I do. I love it. I mean, I think that's a great.
And do you notice what's down here? This seems to be a power source of some kind.
Yeah, so they're looking down, controlling the bishops and, again, the clergy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's another
Nothing
one.
to this, man.
There's another one that shows a demonic looking creature with eyes on its butt. And
yeah, I got one of those.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, this is what we're talking about. I'm trying to think of, there was a couple of researchers. Well, Jacques Vallée, he did a good amount of research into the interdimensional aspects, and he started to question, wait a minute, these legends of fairies, elves, trooping elves that would take you out of your body and take you away sound a lot like abduction in our day and age. And yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, and it tells me that this is what I fight against and it's a constant challenge within my spirit is that there is so much vying for my attention. And then if they've got my attention, then they want me to believe because if I can believe in it, then that gives them the permission that they need to come in. And, I look at these pictures that have been taken and I'm going, that's something that's smarter than I am. It's smarter than the people I know. We can't build this stuff, or at least not the people that I know of.
Well, that black cube one might be one of the creepiest ones you got there because, as I know you know all about the black cube.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the reality is, again, all we got to do is look on top of a certain tower and you'll see it there. That black cube looks like a black rock.
Well, the New Jerusalem
Yeah.
is, in fact, a cube.
Yep.
It's measured 1,500 square miles, height, wide, Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sounds like a mothership.
Don't it though? And I wonder where Gene Roddenberry got the Borg thing, because it's the cube.
Always, and the Borg thing is just right on. Right.
Yeah. So it's the assimilation of us, and there appears to be so many different type of craft out there that I don't know if we are created by them, right? And if they control us, then there's probably humans building this, but I don't think it's humans that came up with the technology as to how to make it work. I could be wrong.
Well, yeah, the big reveal is the fact that our military works with reptilian and grays all day long. All day long. When you talk DARPA, you're talking an integration of yes, humans, but also non-human beings. So, yeah, our military is really their military. And when you talk about that revelation of a fake alien invasion, really, the ones that would come, I think most likely would, there is the possibility the Anunnaki themselves could come back. We've seen that on a certain timeline that they would actually be sending like one of the Anunnaki to each of the major cell cities according to one of their plans. Because what they really wanted to do was to squish all of humanity into a certain number of smart cities. I don't think they're getting that timeline now. It doesn't feel
Mm.
like it's happening. I think the cat's out of the bag too much. But they were on one timeline slated to basically come about 2035, about 10 years openly, in order to manage in the open, because that's what they did in the past when we saw the gods amongst humans, and you see all these depictions of these little humans coming up to the gigantic gods in a slave position. That's what it was.
Nuremberg,
Yeah,
1516. I mean,
yeah,
that was documentation. And the thing about it is, I just recently saw that that same battle that was painted in that famous painting again of Nuremberg also took place in Sweden.
yep.
They have reports of these same ships, then a sickness falling upon the people. Yeah.
You
This
know,
one, by the way, is one that I've often found that we don't have any comprehension of how big these ships really are.
no, and also how many airships like, well, like the Hindenburg type were there really? They were all over the place. That's why when you look at like the ancient photos, not really so ancient, 120 years or whatever, going back to about 1850s, 1860s, when they started to um, do the photography in this particular go round, you'll see that the sky's whitewashed all the time. It's because they don't want to show the ships that were actually up in the sky. So they've covered up things in so many different ways. Um, yeah, as Bonnie was bringing up Elohim, that's a plural word, So, and when you go back to um, the Chaldean Genesis, read the Chaldean Genesis because you'll find words that are so familiar in our Genesis, except for, like you were saying, they're talking about Enlil, Marduk, Ninhursag. It's not just Lord and God, it's all the individual different beings. And then it all just becomes Lord or God or Yahweh.
Yeah, and again, all of these gods require ships. I mean, um, so Zechariah, you go into I think it's the 12th chapter of Zechariah, but Zechariah is standing there with this angel, and from the east they saw this carpet, that had rolled edges, and actually they're describing nothing more than a UFO, a saucer craft. But the story shows that this craft came to this mountain where Zechariah and this angel were, and the craft was piloted by two women. And there was a main being in, and he came out of the ship and gave a scroll to the angel, and then got back in the ship and went back to Sumer. I mean, okay, you could say, and it's one that you'll never hear preached about. You don't even hear talk about because that validated for me in my mind that, okay, then Sumer was real. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, we got the tablets, we know that, but their technology was far advanced, which gives credence to a lot of what Stitchin was trying to say. I think Stitchin kind of twisted it in a lot of his own opinion, but nevertheless, then there are ships here.
Yeah, and a lot of them are neutral. So, I mean, you do have a lot of beings that we see in these ships that are totally neutral. They're not part of the control system. Yeah, a lot of them are research scientists studying us and wondering when we're going to wake up, when we're going to figure out the big secret.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the one I want to talk about too, because we're seeing more pictures now. There appears to be portal dimensions opening.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know,
see, this is the problem. Like, again, the control system, ultimately, it's controlled by AI. And that's that Borg component. The beings that we call the Draco, which are at the top of the pyramid, but they're actually below the AI that they created, and then it enslaved them. And there is something about this AI that really literally siphons source energy, which is creepy. It's really creepy. It's when we look to like our vampire legends, you know, there's some truth to those too. And there's truth to all these legends. They're at the core, they're talking about these different beings from different perspectives. But again, you know, the reality is there's many different types of beings involved. I think the likelihood that we'll see, again, more and more variety of beings is very high because, you know, this is in the new era. Now that we've left the Kali Yuga, it's almost like anything could go. There's no permanent agreement. There's no treaty in place. So we're kind of in a spot right now where all these different entities, they're feeling each other out, wondering what they could get away with.
so what's taking place here with the United States? Well, apparently it's in several other countries that we're now there was a congressional hearing subcommittee, and several things were disclosed in the testimony here. Is that Pentagon officials admitted that there is a technology that is above ours. This was also when they brought out the videos of, so what are we doing here in your opinion, Mike? Are we seeing an aggression? Are we, what's happening? Because if we're shooting live missiles, armed missiles at these objects, these craft, wouldn't that be perceived as an aggressive move?
It could be, unless they're actually ours. And yeah, they're ours that are much more advanced. And when I say ours, they're literally, again, the Greys, reptilians, and they're using it because they have to. They can't they can't put the genie back in the bottle, you know, because there's so many other extraterrestrials, ultra terrestrials involved that they're trying desperately to control the narrative. What they want to do is eventually that whole thing where they want to unite humanity against outside aggression. The outside aggression would, in most likelihood, actually be beings trying to help us. Because these are the oppressors. They've been here the whole time. They've hidden themselves on purpose, so we don't know we're being controlled by something that's not Homo sapiens sapiens. Because, you know, again, they have an AI that's way more advanced than ChatGPT or Grok, and they could run the numbers and get the percentages as to what course to take. And that's why I think they've shifted away somewhat from that more aggressive approach into perhaps a little bit more of a sci-fi movie approach. Okay, they're going to figure out, you know, that there's a lot of beings in play here. So the best course of action is perhaps to tell them that the ones that are going to probably show up to help us and to enlighten us are actually a negative ET invading force, and try to get us to fight with them and to become part of Space Force, part of, you know, the reptilian draconian alliance there.
In this picture here, I think again it validates my hypothesis that all religions has been created by aliens. This is obviously, and you got to look at these Renaissance painters. They were obviously channeling something here, and this is Moses. So it begins to tell me that if you're into a religious ideology or theology, it's most likely alien in its origins. And it tells me again, I just want to know, Mike and Cindy, when do we see the good guys? Because, I don't see any evidence of any good guys helping us out, but there's more. This is, again, this is not AI. This has not been Photoshop. These are actually the pictures that are coming in. I don't know. I mean, is there an invasive force right here now? Is this been the norm? Are these just the watchers? I mean, what really is going on here?
There's several different layers to this. So to answer the question, it's not going to be a popular answer, but when do the good guys come is going to be when we start moving into the Silver Age. So answering that question.
As far as the real benevolent beings, like the ones that we used to call like the ancient and shining ones, the ones that appear to us as just shimmering golden or sometimes like a bluish light, but typically you would see them as a shimmering energy form because they're non-physical to us. They're actually, truly a fifth density being. Those are a ways away. All the legends, everything that we have, for the most part, is about the Bronze Age, the age that we're just getting into now. But I think there are more benevolent beings, not the highest high vibe, the ones that we would call the devas. But there are beings like the Blue Avians, which I think the whole fiasco with Corey Goode and, if you followed that whole thing, Corey Goode, Gaia, David Wilcox, it was a big thing. And then all of a sudden, is he faking it? There's all this sort of negative energy around it because Corey Goode was speaking about the Blue Avians. But even before that, I knew of them. I had another friend that was psychic that actually saw them and their ships. And then Cindy has been able to work with them. They are very close to us. Density.
Not on this density. They're above us, but they do channel their energy down to beings who are in control of Earth and some goings-on. So in that sense, we have help. It's more of a channeled type of help.
Right. So in other words, when we talk about the concept of higher self, if you look at Putin and you look at Julius Caesar, you'll see there's a resemblance, because again, coming from the same higher self, you'll find like a lot of the actors in Hollywood and politicians look a lot like somebody in the past. Again, the same cast of characters is always coming into the same bloodlines because that makes it a lot easier for them to steer, again, the consciousness into a vehicle. And that's also part of why they're always trying to get rid of as many of us that have higher selves that are of a much higher frequency, what you would call starseed light workers. Like your higher self is far beyond really all the fray that we see down in this density. It's the same thing with us, and I would venture to say pretty much everybody in chat, if you feel this, if you're resonating with this, then you probably are a being that's had incarnations in other star systems, planets, and have volunteered to come down into this density to try to raise up the frequency of the masses. But at the same time, there are some people in positions of power that have higher selves that are coming from groups like the Blue Avians that are incarnating in purpose into some positions where they could affect positive change. But when you get into this body, it's full of weaknesses. And just like anybody, tempt them with money, fame, and fortune, and whatever it is that their hearts desire, a lifetime supply of cheesecake, maybe. you know, or pizza, whatever it is that can get to somebody, they will offer it to get to you. It's that sell your soul to the devil and you'll be a star. You'll have everything you want, is what they always say.
But
And
they
so
are the devil.
they ultimately are.
They are. So, in getting into this, I mean, you can see that. To me, I think there's also. Well, I don't think that. I don't know. This is a federation. I don't know if there is this true galactic war going on, but it's very evident that there's different technology, and to me, my perception, different kinds of beings. I mean, these ships that they're here, this is what I would call more of a light ship than something that you would see more military-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen firsthand the TR-3Bs. The first time I saw one was back in 1997, and it flew right over my head and my daughter's head, and it was she was terrified of it. It was going very slow. This was over at Silver Sands Beach in Milford, Connecticut, and I watched it for about 15, 20 minutes. It was just kind of scanning houses. At least that's what I perceived, scanning people to make note of, I think, whoever has an activated light body, whoever has a functioning pineal gland, because they got to be careful of people like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's excuse me there, hit the wrong button. Well, it's very clear something is happening. When I was putting this together, it's amazing that we now have country after country now opening up their X files, making full disclosure that, and we're seeing this repeated in every country, that their citizens have been reporting the same thing that we've been seeing here in the United States, which then tells me that this is global in nature. It has to be far bigger because if it's being reported in virtually every other country, to do that either requires a very fast, finite number of objects or ships, or there's a whole lot of ships already here. And are we being psychologically prepped for that big event?
Yeah, I think we're being prepped, and I saw where it disconnected briefly, you know, and then reconnected the chat, you know, because they really hate what we're talking about.
There's a
This,
lot
this
of funkiness. I can see it in
yeah,
my the other on my VPN going in. Yeah.
yeah, this is the most taboo subject there is in reality. So I think, as Susan Donahue in chat was talking about, the last few times things didn't go so well. Things are going better this time. It might not look like it, but I really think things are going much better. So I think we are going down this, let's call it the uh, sci-fi timeline, instead of the just nightmarish zombie apocalypse, which still could happen in a different way. But I think, yeah, we're gonna get this. We're gonna have a crazy ride. It's gonna be crazy the next few years.
And religion is going to play a huge role in this, and this is why this discussion is so relevant. In fact, I haven't seen too many discussions where you're actually saying, well, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hindu, all the religions are alien gods basically trying to do a mind trip on us. And once we buy it, then psychically, spiritually, it aids them. They feed off this. They transmute this energy. They love large gatherings where we come together. But I've seen this, and I'm telling you, there is going to be an appearance, and it's going to proclaim itself as God.
Mhm.
And you've got so many people so desperate for a sign from the heavens, from sign from God that will allow humanity that brief period of hope to cling to.
Yeah, you know, before we got on, I was getting visions of I think them probably introducing somebody. I think it's planned.
I think you're right.
I think they'll introduce somebody. I think too with, I don't want to go down a certain road, but obviously there was a big event that transpired, very, very negative event. And I think on some levels, that event was trying to push people back into, Sunday, going every Sunday and all this, trying to, as long as they could keep as many of us as possible placated and happy with the things of the Kali Yuga, which, keeps us away from looking up or looking within, then they're happy. As long as we go and, forgive me for my sins, Father, that type of thing. They're
Yeah.
as happy as can be. As long as we're in any of their power structures, doesn't matter if it's, one or the other. It's just like falling into the left wing, falling into the right wing. As long as you pick one of the wings, they're happy.
But you have to have two wings in order to fly. I mean, I'm just saying,
Yeah,
I'm a simple man, but it's true.
it is.
And it's amazing because when Lynn and I were heavily in politics, we were members of a group called the CNP, um, and it wasn't cheap getting in. It was probably a lot of y'all's yearly salary is what it took to get in. My point to all this, when we were allowed on that inside, meeting with governors, senators, etc., I'm Mike and Cindy, I'm telling you, and that's when I became aware of how insidious this thing really is, how deep it is.
Yeah, they've infiltrated every good movement. Again, like the real teachings of the real Yeshua is not what we're given. It's not blood
Mm,
sacrifice. It's not, that whole concept of being born into original sin and all that, needing a savior. No, you need a savior from the system, and that has to be you. You have to be your own savior and come to the
you're
realization
the only one that's going to be judged, is you.
by yourself.
Yeah.
Ultimately, so it's all control. It's all control. And I think when you look to, you could discern what was really Yeshua speaking and what wasn't. You could feel it, you know?
Yeah, there is so much on that. I come from the position that, I believed in that dude for 50 years. And, you know, the part that where you have to begin to say, okay, it really becomes, as I've said, people don't need evidence in what they're believing. They need faith in what they're believing. It's the faith that's going to make the believing real. Now, whether there was a rabbi that was walking around in Judea at the time, I don't know. There were a lot of radical rabbis, um, but we have in the West we have a false perception of what that time was. And you can actually read it in Flavius Josephus's writings.
Yeah.
That whole time was at war.
Yeah.
And what you read, go ahead, brother. What?
Oh, I was going to say, when you think about all that we have, he is probably, what do you think, 30 to 50% of all that we have when it comes to that time period. It's Flavius Josephus. I mean, he is so huge, so key. There's
And
the
no
line.
one ever figures out why did he have the name Flavius?
Oh, I haven't delved down there.
Oh,
Well,
I'll
just the
tell you
fact that
why.
he's a Roman citizen, but
No, no, so I'll tell you why he has Flavius's name. Who was the Flavians? Well, I'll tell you, it's the god of the New Testament, Vespasian.
oh, okay.
And Vespasian was voted by the Roman Senate to be a god. That made Titus the son of God.
Yeah,
And the exploits that you read in the four Gospels are the exploits of Vespasian. They,
you know,
they
when
pardon?
what you just said is so key. If people could only just suck that in, really absorb that. It's so key. It's a key to how they have, again, they always get us. They even did it in Hinduism too. They get you to focus on worshiping either, any of the deities and, looking to them you could again take on their energies. You could ask them for help because they are real beings and they will help. But it's like we have to do the work. This is all about our self-improvement and our realization
Yeah,
and
yeah,
our
yeah.
learning and growth. Yeah, instead of like, and when you think about what they did too, with you could get away with anything. You could keep being a murderer, a thief, or whatever. If on your deathbed you just accept Christ, you're going to heaven. No, it's all about frequency. Heaven is your frequency. It's a state of vibrational frequency. So it depends on where you're truly your heart is. It's not
Mine's
dog.
on the beach.
There you go. I like
I
that.
have this beach and I got this amusement park that's there and I got this great area that has this band going because the bands come in and out. I'm just telling you, it's never the same.
But what you were saying again, the Roman Senate voted that he was going to be a god because they're taking over for the Anunnaki. Oh yes, that is a legitimate hybrid that we could put in place as our, God. Our, again, when you look to the word Elohim, mighty one, judge, the one that makes the decisions for the humans.
And that was the other thing that you get into the conflict. So who's the father? It's not the Elohim.
No. I mean, I think when
It's like,
Yeshua is speaking about the Father, he's speaking about Source, or he's speaking about the creator of this universe, the natural universe, not those entities.
and then my last one was, can you name me Eve's daughters? Just give me the first two.
That's a good one, Wayne. Yeah,
That's all I got to say,
yeah. Very good.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a simple man,
Yeah,
just a simple
yeah.
point. So Cindy, what are you picking up, dear? Because you've been quiet as a mouse, but yet
I've
I
been
can
a
sense
little quiet.
your aura is just like exploding.
I'm enjoying you guys go back and forth. It's a lot of fun for me to watch the two of you. So really, looking at the world that we live in today, I think everybody should be in a state of preparing for change, for things
Hmm.
to go a little bit haywire. But still not get so sucked in that you don't enjoy yourself. Get away, take good care of yourself, heal, work on healing, work on detoxing, work on all the things. Know that, like, if anything happens, the government's not gonna show up to help you with food or medicine or anything. Get to know your herbs, figure out what's gonna work for you. That's what I'm picking up. I pick up it's really close. We have a plume of comets coming. And
So
that,
let's talk about that a minute. I
yeah,
mean,
There's 7 now.
7.
7.
7.
So, okay, Ikarabasandri namorato.
Yeah.
So immediately what hit my mind, I saw the red dragon.
Oh,
That's
What?
a direct reference into Revelation.
Yeah.
yeah, you just gave me a big one too, because it hits me with Mother Shipton. That
Yeah.
Mother Shipton prophecy too. Wow. Okay, so we're gonna go down that timeline.
I
Yeah,
don't know which timeline it is, but when you immediately say it, what I saw in my spirit mind was exactly that. I saw a red dragon with 7 golden stars pulling out into the tail.
right. Yeah, and then the Mother Shipton with the dragon's tail. It's yeah,
Y'all
this
are paying attention. You're seeing something here that's really freaking real, man. I mean,
Well,
this
the
is,
comets have they can change our energy field, they can change our frequency. Sometimes when comets go by, they can really, throw your life up in the air like a bag of chips, and you don't know what happened or why it happened. You just got hit with something life changing.
7 though.
7.
Yeah,
So,
I mean 7. We could
yeah.
represent the chakras, so it could be the 7 chakras and all different levels of consciousness on one end. Looking at it more positively.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time that there has been 7 comets?
Not that I know of, all put together this close.
No. Does anyone who's listening to this, do you know of another time when there were 7 comets? Wow, and 7 is such a significant, it's a powerful magic number, but it's also a powerful spiritual number.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's
Wow.
significant, so many changes we have. We're in between the eclipses. we have 7 comets. All of these things change our frequency, and our frequency is, we're receptors, so we receive the frequency and we act based on what that frequency is. So it could really be throwing people out of sorts.
Yeah. Well, it's throwing the whole planet out of sorts.
It is, yeah. After what happened to
Charlie
Charlie,
Kirk, I mean, yeah.
right?
And you know, and then on top of that, we're in an unprecedented period of time for humanity. We are in a magnetic excursion. The poles are, in fact, the Earth is going to be tilted on its side. I mean, and I think that the governments are realizing that the cat's out of the bag. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. So you've got the weakening magnetopause that's allowing cosmic rays to freaking bombard all of us, all living things. But for humans, it makes us back crap crazy.
It does, and that's the frightening thing about it. People just go nuts. They can no longer control their emotions. Maybe their anxiety is too high. My concern really is when things do collapse, there's so many people on medications that they need, like blood pressure, thyroid, things like that. Is what are we going to do if society collapses? You can't just go off that stuff. You can't.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oh,
And if we get a significant CME solar flare, let's say X20, X30, I mean, you're going to see the grid will collapse. It will definitely be hurt hard, but then, Cindy, I can see it because it's a domino effect.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. How much has everybody's technology been glitching? You guys in chat, have you had, and those that are listening later, because it seems like it's glitching more than ever. I wonder if some of it's purposeful, or is it really just an inability of people with a higher frequency to be around this technology, which, is ultimately being used mostly for control.
Yeah. Tuesday, they zapped me. I mean, my electrical system, it took a jolt, and it was like, okay, that wasn't very nice. It's like,
Well, there's a great deal of healing going on. So when you feel a lot of pain, when you feel the electrical jolt, there's something, it's your energy field is breaking up. It's starting to expand. So I think that's good. I hope you weren't hurt though.
I tell you, hopefully we can get together again next week because I like these discussions and I can tell by the amount of people that have been watching, we hit almost a peak of 400 plus people tuning in. That's a good audience.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's shown up in the chat room because the chat room's just, I can't read it.
Well, since we missed so many weeks, absolutely, and if you want to talk longer, we have time. When
Yeah,
we
I just
have
like to have
people.
everyone. Hello, Kaz. How are you? Good to see. There's so many people in the chat room because this is at some point there is going to be a crescendo. I mean, there is so much pressure, and I see it from both sides. The right and the left. They're at war, and even the former religion that I come from, they're at war. They're at war with themselves, and I'm thinking to myself, don't they remember the proverb that says a house divided against itself cannot stand?
Yeah,
They're trying to tear down our castles, I am so grateful for this community and communities like y'all's that where at least we can approach this thing with open eyes. I don't think anyone has an answer, but I think within our discussions and our different points of view, an answer can be arrived, and that's what I like.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's, again, this is such an amazing time and opportunity to be alive. Sure, it's stressful. It's stressful. It's challenging, but it's not dull.
No, it's not. And I'm telling you, the 7 comets, I mean, I get up at about 5 o'clock and I take Bentley out, and it's just a great time. It's dark now, and we don't have the light pollution here. Much probably y'all don't either. And there's at times I just get on my knees and just, raise my hand because I look at this and I look at what I'm involved, but it is that moment where time stops, where it's a heart of gratitude. And I sense the favor of the gods. I sense the favor of the goddesses because and that's where I think maybe an answer can be arrived on a group, on a community level. It's just that heart of gratitude and just of thanksgiving.
Well, we are pulling closer to those beings on the higher frequency planes of existence. So that's good. They are going to be able to work with us more. And this is what the control system fears the most, is us connecting with beings that are way above the control system.
Yeah. And I don't think they like us. I think that's why they try to keep us, suppressed. I'm not out on all the other social medias. I just don't have that time. And this is the one place where you can just lay it out. And I'm so grateful for the people that I read and for wonderful people like both of y'all is that you've added to my richness. You've added to my spiritual growth. And if that's not favor, I don't know what is.
Absolutely. And we're very grateful too. And it's wonderful to see, again, here we are, we're on your channel, but it's really one big extended family when you get down to it. And when you see, I know, same thing that you see is that we see names that have been with us for years.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, this is family that, might not be blood family, but it's certainly soul family. And that's a huge
We're
blessing.
definitely kissing cousins.
Yeah.
Which is illegal where? I forgot. It's illegal somewhere. I just saw
Oh,
it.
I guess it may be. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, as they would say, I'm a brother of another mother, but we're all family, so it
Yeah.
works out. This has been so good. So, kind of as we kind of begin to wrap this up, I'd like to get y'all's perspective because, again, if you haven't subscribed to Mike and Cindy, what's your problem? That's all I got to say. Because I love your videos because it's like watching the nightly news. I can get a summation of events and a perspective that it walks in unison with mine, and that's what I enjoy about what the two of you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Checks in the mail.
We we have the 3 channels. We have Evolutionary Energy Arts, which started August 2017, the same month as the first big X marks the spot eclipse, and then
Yeah.
EE Arts was started in May of 2019 because they almost took Evolutionary down because we were talking about stuff that led up to obviously the plague upon the land, and we were kind of onto that about 7 months before it happened, and they really hit us hard there. And then we started Heart's Own because we noticed a lot of our regular family members, they couldn't watch all of our videos anymore because they didn't want to see any news. They're like, I don't want to know anything that's going on. I want to be cut off from that.
But they still like us.
But they still like us. So we did Heart's Own, where we don't talk about the news at all, just completely spiritual, mostly how to, like a lot of meditation, mantras, talking about yoga, things like that, qigong, more practical, spirituality, meditations and the like. So we do have the 3 channels on YouTube, but everything goes on Patreon too.
Cool. Y'all are just a delightful company, and the knowledge that you bring it's much needed. I like it. So,
Grateful.
getting to my point, so where do y'all see if you could just go down, let's say, could you imagine now you talk 24 hours and events can so rapidly change everything. Um, what are y'all sensing coming down the road, so to speak?
More chaos. Hopefully we'll get a reprieve after the solar eclipse on the 21st. That's my hope. Coming down the road, I see military. I see the what Trump has done, pulling out the National Guard, I think that's going to become problematic.
By the
Yeah.
way, they are arriving in St. Louis.
Wow.
We have
Yeah.
a National Guard depot here. Last week there were 27 MRAPs that were in the yard, along with 6 of the white buses that they put people into. Those yards are empty now. So
Wow.
I think there's multiple things going on with that. And honestly, I think 47 himself is having a major battle with the devil and the angel.
now, if he's got Paula White in there, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because, for full disclosure, I know Paula, but okay. Anyway, I
Yeah.
believe you are right. I think there is a crisis of a inner battle taking place. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a much bigger battle on, going under the surface. I think there's a lot of things being done. There's things that are disconcerting. They put in laws in the UK about hate speech, and now they want to put laws in here about hate speech. And that's such a broad term, it could shut everybody up. And
I could say I
yeah.
love you, and people would look at that what really I've said, I hated you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the
Yeah.
way the system works and the way everything works. But at the same time, if you look at too what happened with the probably tens of millions of people that entered illegally this country and the other NATO countries, and when you look at places of origin, there could be a preemptiveness in trying to avert or be ready if there is some sort of sleeper cell activation inside the country. Because I'm almost surprised that the war hasn't broken out in earnest so far. The Polish psychoff Krzysztof Jakowski sees it starting. He's been getting visions of that and a lot of the details. He's been like right on in so many things. He predicted a few plane issues. He predicted earthquakes, like 3 different earthquakes in like the last 6 months. He's had a bunch of just spot on predictions, but he does see expansion in the war. He sees that there's some sort of agreement going on with actually handing Trump and Putin, and also Putin and Netanyahu, is that they have other deals. You have to realize too, when we talk about the control system, they are all about ego. They all want to be the next hottest thing. They all want to be that most high God. They want to be that most high God. They're all competing with each other in a way, even though they're playing roles at the same time. They want to get their Oscars, as the best puppet of the year. But I think we're in for a bumpy road. If we could make it to the 1st of January, ring in the new year with no World War III, no new plague, and no financial collapse, then I think we're kind of in a real positive home stretch timeline. So
I can hitch my horse up to that wagon.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, listen, everything points to a real bad time, but then I know hermetics enough to know that even in the physics, a pendulum cannot stay stationary in one position or one direction. That's the whole idea of the pendulum. And the universe is a pendulum. It's that seeking that balance, that place. And if people are seeing it so negative on this one, then I can say, well, then we certainly can expect the inertia that is causing the force to then reverse. And that's where we'll have our picnic. That's where we'll have the days of prosperity, where we're not at war with ourselves or our neighbors, but we begin to find reconciliation. And that's not a word that you're hearing today, and it needs to be talked about more and more. It's not a matter of being you're right and someone else is wrong. It's about being able to reconcile with each other and finding that middle ground.
Yeah, and just think about it, Wayne. If we could talk to the citizens of China, Russia, the BRICS nations, and recognize, for the most part, we could get along great. We could have a wonderful barbecue. We got nice parties.
They'd love us. We'd love
Why,
them.
why in the world would we go and shoot at each other? It's just insane.
Really. That's nuts. I'd rather
It's,
have a barbecue.
yeah, all the
And
way.
for you vegetarians, we'll go ahead and we'll have some eggplant to put on there. I mean, we're considerate, you know.
I make a good barbecue sauce.
No, he
See?
does. He does. I'm
See?
trying to get people over here
Hmm.
to taste his cooking. It's
Yeah,
so
if
good.
we have this consciousness revolution, then I could just go to jarring sauces and things like that. Barbecue sauce, spaghetti sauce, maybe even have our own line of
Cheese sauce,
pizzas that we
yeah.
could send out. I love to
You
cook.
know, I was taught that God loves barbecue. I mean, you read what Solomon did I mean, they slaughtered like 1,000, steers in one day.
Yeah.
One Texan told me, he says, that's a lot of damn barbecue to be eaten, but anyway, it's a
Hmm.
1,000 steers. What were they thinking, but anyway,
Yeah, I always,
Those gods had a big appetite.
I always
they
thought it
did.
was weird that they would talk about God loves the smell of searing flesh. I'm like, are you guys
Yeah,
not
yeah.
hearing this?
Are y'all getting a freaking clue what's going on here? It's like, holy crap.
It's like whenever I hear a bug zapper outside somebody's yard, I think, oh, God loves the smell of searing flesh. That's awful. It's awful.
Well, I contend, and it kind of goes with our conversation, that, the God that we read about when in Samuel, when Solomon was in power, that God left. I don't know where he went. I don't know if he's coming back, but when he left, he took all the power out of that. Otherwise, Titus would have never been able to walk into the Holy of Holies.
Mhm.
I mean, the God that occupied the first temple, he'd fried your ass, and then you'd been a sweet smell to him. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
oh, Steiger, I just got something in my mind. It's like, yeah, you can kiss my ass too, but that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, you two. We love you both. And hopefully we can get together next Thursday
Yep.
to continue this
We're
because
good to go. We're good to go. Next Thursday
I
was
love this topic. It's deep.
Yep. It
And
is.
yeah, yeah.
It's
We're
fun.
covering good ground here. That's what I like.
Good. Good.
Absolutely. I think it's stuff people need to hear.
I do too. And I am so grateful for both of you two and appreciative. And as I look everybody in the chat room, thank you. This has been a remarkable show. I can see it by the numbers. Thank you all. You may not have agreed with everything, but you may not have disagreed with everything. And again, it's being able to come together and express the difference of opinions, but never becoming divided by our opinions. So thank you, Mike and Cindy. Make sure y'all get over there and support them as well. And thank you for hitting the like button and the share button. Well, I don't know if they would let you share as much of this. They may edit it out. I don't know.
Right.
But we certainly love y'all so much. We'll see you tomorrow. Have yourselves a great Thursday and be good to yourself. And please, please be kind to your